Chapter 29 of Lotus Buds. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Lawrence Trask, Mount Vernon, Ohio. InterfaceAudio.com. Lotus Buds by Amy Wilson CARMICHAEL. Chapter 29. Very common in those parts. The Dark Enigma of Permitted Wrong. F.R.H. The mixture of secrecy and openness described by the temple women is confirmed by Hindus well acquainted with temple affairs. All the temple women are married to the gods. In former times the marriages were conducted upon a grand scale, but now they are clandestinely performed in the temple, with the connivance of the priest, and with freedom to deny it if questioned. Some ceremonies are performed in the temple, the rest at home. Sometimes the marriage symbol is blessed by the priest and taken home to the child to be worn by her. In all these cases, the priest himself has to tie it round her neck. The previous arrangements for the marriage are made by the priests with the guardians of the child, who is initiated into the order of temple women. The ceremony of tying on the marriage symbol is never in our district performed in public. None but intimate friends know about it. There is a secret understanding between the priests and the temple women concerned. When the time comes for the marriage symbol to be tied on, after the usual ceremonies, the priest hands over the symbol, hidden in a garland of flowers. Of course, there is music on the occasion. When outsiders ask what all the noise is about, the people who know do not say the real thing. They say it is a birthday or other festival day. The symbol is tied on when the child is between 5 and 11, after which it is considered unholy to perform the marriage ceremony. The symbol is at first hidden from the gaze of the public. Later it is shown publicly, but not while the girl is still young. This tallies exactly with our own experience. More than once an eager child in her simplicity has shown me the marriage symbol, a small gold ornament tied around her neck, or hanging on a fine gold chain, but the temple woman in whose charge she was has always reproved her sharply, and made her cover it up under her other jewels, or under the folds of her dress. The reason for this secrecy, which, however, is not universal, is, as is inferred in the evidence of the head priest, because it is known to the temple authorities that what they are doing is illegal, though, as a matter of fact, as will be seen later, prosecutions are rare, and convictions rarer still. The caste recruited, as the Blue Book states, by admissions and even purchases from other classes. On this point, a Brahmin says, when the temple woman has no child, she adopts a girl or girls, and the children become servants of the gods. Sometimes children are found who, on account of a vow made by their parents, become devotees of the god. Another Brahmin, an Orthodox Hindu, writes, in some districts people vow that they will dedicate one of their children to the temple, if they are blessed with a family. Temple women often adopt orphans, to whom they bequeath their possessions. In most cases, the orphans are bought. The position of the temple woman has been a perplexity to many. The census report touches the question. It is one of the many inconsistencies of the Hindu religion that though their profession is repeated vehemently condemned in the Shastras, sacred books, it has always received the countenance of the Church. Their duties are all religious. A well-informed Hindu correspondent thus enumerates them. First, they are to be one of the 21 persons who are in charge of the key of the outer door of the temple. Second, to open the outer door daily. Third, to burn camphor, and to go round the idol when worship is being performed. Fourth, to honor public meetings with their presence. Fifth, to mount the car and stand near the god during the car festivals. The Orthodox Hindu quoted before remarks on the high honor as the temple child is taught to consider it, the marriage to the god confers upon her. We have purposely confined ourselves almost entirely to official and Hindu evidence so far, but cannot forbear to add to this last word the confirmatory experience of our own temple children worker. When I try to persuade the Hindus to let us have their little ones instead of giving them to the temples, they say, "But to give them to temples is honor and glory and merit to us forever. To give them to you is dishonor and shame and demerit. So why should we give them to you?" We have said that convictions are rare. This is because of the great difficulty in obtaining such evidence, as is required by the law as it stands at present. One case may be quoted as typical. A few years ago, in one of our country towns, a father gave his child in marriage to the idol, with some pomp, as the report before us says. He was prosecuted, but the prosecution failed, for the priest and the parents united in denying the fact of the marriage, and the evidence for the defense was so skillfully cooked that it was found impossible to prove an offense against the penal code. Once deeply stirred over the case of a little girl of 6 who was about to be married to a god, as her elder sisters had been a few months previously, we wrote to a magistrate of wide experience and proved sympathy with the work. His letter speaks for itself. "I have been waiting some little time before answering your letter, because I wanted time to think over your problem. As far as I can make out, there is no way in the world of preventing a woman marrying her own daughter to the gods at any age, but you can prosecute her if she does. If you could get her into prison for marrying the elder girls, the younger might be safe, but I don't think you can do anything directly for her. She is not being unlawfully detained, and even if she were, all you could do would be to get her returned to her parents and guardians, which would be worse than useless. The question is whether you can hope to get a conviction in the other case. I don't see how you can. You can say in court that you saw the little girls with their marriage symbol on, and that they said they had been married to the god. The little girls will deny it all, and say they never set eyes on you before. Moreover, I don't think the ordinary court would be satisfied without some other evidence of the fact of dedication, and considering how everyone would work against you, I think you would find it extraordinarily hard. The local police would be worse than useless. To every man his work. It appears to us that expert knowledge is required, and ample means and leisure, if the expenditure involved is to result in anything worth while, and a careful study of all available information regarding prosecutions, convictions, and I may add sentences, has convinced us, at least, of the futility of such attempts from a missionary point of view. For even if convictions were certain, as long as the law hands the child back to its guardians, after their unfitness to guard it from the worst that can befall has been proved, so long do we feel unable to rejoice exceedingly over even the 6 months' rigorous imprisonment, which in more than one case has been the legal interpretation of the phrase up to a term of 10 years, which is the penalty attached to this offense in the Indian Penal Code. In this connection, it may be well to quote a paragraph from the Indian Social Reformer. The public prosecutor at Madras applied for admission of a revision petition against the order of the sessions judge, made in the following circumstances. 1. S., a priest, was convicted by the first-class subdivisional magistrate of having performed the ceremony of dedicating a young girl in the temple of N., and thereby committing an offense punishable under Section 372 of the Penal Code. He accordingly sentenced him to 6 months' rigorous imprisonment. On appeal, the sessions judge reduced the sentence to 2 months, on the ground that the right complained against was a very common one in those parts. The public prosecutor based his petition on the ground that it had been held in a previous case that such a dedication was an offense, and that it was highly desirable that the interests of minors should be properly protected. This protection, it was submitted, could only be vouchsafed by making offending people understand that they would render themselves liable to heavy punishment. The present sentence would not have a deterrent effect, and he accordingly applied for an enhancement of the same. His lordship admitted the petition and directed notice to the accused. It is something to know the 6 months' sentence was confirmed, but is not the fact that a sessions judge should commute such a sentence, on the ground that the offense was very common, enough to suggest a doubt as to the deterrent effect of even this punishment. Note: during the last few months, the Secretary of State for India has addressed official inquiries to the Government of India regarding the dedication of children to Hindu gods and the measures necessary for the protection of such children. If the anticipated change in the law is to result in more than a bill on paper, a blind behind which things will go on as before, only more out of sight, it is, we believe, needful to ensure, first, protection for all children found to be in moral danger, whether or not they are or may be dedicated to gods. Second, that irrespective of nationality or religion, whoever has worked for and won the deliverance of the child should be allowed to act as guardian to it. Third, that such a bill shall be most thoroughly enforced. February 1912. End of chapter 29. Recording by Lawrence Trask, Mount Vernon, Ohio, interfaceaudio.com.